Welcome back to another episode of the Asphalt Entrepreneur. Today we got Kevin Allford on here today of a great Facebook group, Asphalt Sealcoating Coalition. Good morning. It's not morning, I guess. It's afternoon now.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
Good. It's going good up here. A little cold. No snow yet, but
No
it's getting
snow?
cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and I know a lot of people already know you, stuff like that, but go ahead and give us a little background about your history, where you started.
Well, I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I started uh, basically out of high school. Started for Clayton Asphalt Coatings. I was a foreman there. Uh, Ellsworth Steel Coating and Paving bought out Clayton Asphalt Coating, so I went with the move. My brother and I saved up money and bought out the seal coating division of Ellsworth Seal Coating and started Allford Brothers Seal Coating and Paving. So uh, I worked for on my own for probably about 13 years.
Yep.
We had our own business and we built it up pretty good. Um, it was probably the largest in Tulsa by the time that we stopped. Uh, of course, working with family doesn't always,
Yeah.
work out so well. So
Makes it tough.
yeah, I kind of, we split ways and I got relocated to Northwest Arkansas for PaveCon, and PaveCon's one of the largest self-performing pavement maintenance companies in the United States. So I worked for them for 10 years and basically, well, I'd started the ASC page during that time.
Yep.
And it was about 5 years ago that I started the ASC page. Uh, but then as it grew, I kept getting, people asking me questions and man, I thought about just working with these guys and being a consultant, and that's basically where I'm at right now.
Right.
So I've worked being a self-employed, and I've also worked for the large corporation. So I kind of have a unique perspective on the industry and how things go, and understand a lot that a lot of people don't get that opportunity to see.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Now back to ASC. I saw this morning approaching 7,000 people. That's pretty
Yes,
impressive. Um,
yes, it is
so
getting big.
when you first started it out, your idea was to get a bunch of guys together, um, shoot ideas off each other, stuff like that, or what was the concept behind it?
The concept behind it is I was seeing a lot of crabs in a bucket mentality from the industry. So it really irritated me to see some of the guys. It was almost a dog eat dog world out there, and I wanted to make a difference. So I started the ASC page, and I was careful to vet all the members that came in, make sure that they had something to do with the industry before they were allowed in the group. And I also made sure that it stayed on task, and I know I posted a lot of jokes in there, stuff like that in the past, but we kept it on task, and I just wanted to make sure that it goes in the direction of helping the industry, and doesn't get bogged down with negativity and people cutting people down, and I always wanted to make sure that it's helping the new guys that come in, and helping even the advanced guys that have been there doing it for years.
Yep.
So that's the main idea behind the ASC page.
Yeah. Now that it's like you said, approaching 7,000, do you have any idea of maybe taking it to like a trade show type thing? Not a trade show, but like a mastermind group where you can say similar to NPE, bring people in, have classes, stuff like that. I mean, you got a lot of people to really reach out to.
Yeah, we picked up a lot of good people in the ASC page. You
Yep.
know, uh, Man, Jeff Nelson's been instrumental in helping it get to where it's at, and I would love to see it go to
Go to something like
that
that.
area, yeah, to MPE and become, you know, always looking to see where the industry's going and beat it there. You
Right.
know, I would love to see that and
Yeah.
you know, make that happen. But
Yes. I mean, it's a great platform for it. I mean, it seems like I've been there for a while. It seems like a lot of people are willing to help each other.
yeah,
Where some of the other ones is people bash on each other and all the different questions get bashed on. But it
yeah.
seems so far probably the best one I've seen. So
Well,
congratulations with that. It's good job.
I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. There's, you know, there's a lot. I really didn't do anything except make sure that it stayed on task,
Right.
and you know, I owe everything to the members of the ASC page, you know,
Yep.
because it's amazing the the group themselves and the people, you know, they're just some awesome people and they're professional. And you know they're almost self-policing. They, you know, now it's gotten to the point to where, you know, if they see some guy, you know, being mean or, you know, acting like he shouldn't or saying something he shouldn't and not being supportive, then they either have this attitude of, you know, either you know, say something productive and help this guy out, or shut the hell up, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, they
That's
tell me
good.
about it and we get rid of the guy, and or, you know, or talk to him and explain to him, you know, what we're doing here. And if he wants to be a part of it, great. If not, then
Right.
it's not a
Yeah.
good fit.
Yeah. No,
So
I've seen recently you posted some stuff in there about what was it, terms? You help people write their terms and stuff like that.
yeah,
Is that leading more towards like your consulting stuff that you're doing with people?
yeah, I think so. You know, I got the opportunity and the thought of creating you know, terms and conditions for guys in the industry. You know, a lot of these guys that come in, and it's funny, you know, they'll ask for, you know, how much do you charge? And they basically get crucified right
Yeah.
there. You know,
Yeah.
it's bad, but I understand it. You know, every guy that comes in asks that same question, and there's no good answer until, you know, that's something you got to come up with on your own.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of those things, those the guys are not willing to share. You know, they got basically proprietary, you know, guard guard uh they're guarding their stuff, I guess,
Right. Yeah.
basically. And they don't get the opportunity to write those terms and conditions and things that can help them in the industry. And there's not really an opportunity out there. And I think that's where the industry's going. Is it's you know, people like Marvin Joel's the Blacktop Banner,
Yep.
and you know, Stripe It Like It's Hot podcast, Cam Roberts, uh you know, those guys are trying to create this avenue of helping these people and networking with them and growing. And I think that's where the industry's going. And I wanted to be a part of that. So I
Yeah.
started the consulting and helping people out. It's kind of tough because I'm a pavement maintenance guy. I'm not really a consultant guy.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if they're willing to you know, allow grow with me, then I'm willing to help the new guys out and get them where they need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. I was talking to Marvin probably a couple weeks ago. Um, I told him, I had this idea back in 2018, and he's like, "No kidding." He's like, "Same here." Like it's same almost. I think he was like April, and I was like around November. I'd actually
Yep,
texted it in a Facebook message to Daniel Vanderwall
yep,
about doing some like podcasting or networking or masterminds. And the reason I had that is I come from background of I used to own a gym, so I've done pavement maintenance through high school, through college, and then I also opened a gym when I got out of school. Um, and in the fitness industry, there's always masterminds, always
right,
people getting it all the time. And one day I was just like, there's nothing for asphalt. There's no masterminds, no nothing. Like, well, there
yep,
shouldn't. So, and then the kids got involved, had kids on the way. Now we have two, and life gotten busy in the way, and I just put it off. And then a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, I'm like, you know what? Now we have some time. The kids are a little older. I'm gonna start this back up. But
yep.
yeah, like you said, like masterminds are a great thing if people actually volunteer and willing to give ideas and help each other out.
Yeah, I think they have some, probably about the closest thing that I've seen of that is the roundtable discussions at MPE,
Right.
you know, after all the classes, and you know, you go out on the floor, and then towards the end they have those roundtable
Yeah.
discussions. But you know, I would love to see that in the industry, you know, people helping out masterminds and having groups and think tanks of people, you know, creating, you know, new equipment in the
Right.
industry, new ways to do things, participating in research and development for, you know, say different types of tips that have better spray patterns, or, you know, everything. You know, there's the sky's the limit when you get people that are professional in the industry and get the feedback to the people that are designing these things. You know, we could really do some awesome stuff.
Yeah. I know it's one of the biggest jumps from ancient technology is the melters now. Like the
Oh
old
yeah.
M810 with the blowtorch and now they have the soft heat stuff. That's like way back in BC for crying out loud to, to all of a sudden
Oh
now. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
They
Big
they
difference there.
yeah, their heat up times and consistency, you know, it's improving.
Yeah.
Uh, but man, I just feel like you said, a lot of the times I feel like our we've been doing it this way for too long, you
Yep.
know, and I think there should be some advances in the way that we do things and the materials that we use, and you know, it's long overdue.
Right. Yeah. Now, speaking of materials, tips, you said spray patterns and stuff like that. I heard you on I believe it was on Blacktop Banter actually, a long time ago,
Yep.
talking about how you can control your sealer mix, adding water, subtracting water with what you see in the field of what you should be happening, or is it tracking or not tracking? Um, for the guys that have no idea what that means or talking about, can you kind of like explain a little bit like what you see, when you're going to change it, why you want to change it, some stuff like that?
Yeah, and this is usually has to do with heat. You know, as it heats up in the spring and the summertime, you know, you're going to add more water. The manufacturers, uh, they make the sealer to handle more water in the summertime. Um, they don't necessarily tell you this all the time,
Yep.
but they know that you're going to add more water because you know, it's going to be hotter than the hubs of hell out there in the summertime, and you know, you run into flash drying, and what flash drying is when you know, when you spray it down, it gets so hot that it dries on the surface and traps the moisture in the coat. So you know, it stays soft longer, and since it's dried on the top, that moisture and it can't escape. It can, but it just takes a lot longer.
Right.
So you know, we use additives and stuff to fight against that. But you know, more water, even in extreme conditions, you can wet the pavement down and, you know, cool it off and then spray it,
Yep.
and you know, you have better results. But you know, this, I want to be careful when I say these things because it's different for different climates.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, so down south they would get away with, you know, adding more water. Up
Yep.
north, you know, maybe not so much. But you know, there's a window of dilution rate that you can use. Now, the manufacturers, they keep it at that window and they draw the line at, you know, don't go over this percentage, but it's able to take a little more because of mistakes. They don't want their sealer, you know, if you add just a few more percent, they don't want the sealer to separate or you know, to fail.
Right.
So it's able to take a little more water than they tell you. So uh, I've always made sure that I've added in, you know, every bit of water I can, and it's not to mess with the integrity of the sealer. It's to, you know, to make sure that I can stripe it when I'm done and I don't have tracking issues. And you know, mostly the tracking issues come from coal tar and LP sealers, or petroleum based sealers, in the summertime. You know, asphalt based material in the summertime for me is great. You know, you don't usually have any tracking or tacky issues. And you know, but asphalt based material doesn't do as good in the wintertime. You know, so when the cooler temperatures, you know, it's not as user friendly in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So I I've even got a blend, and I would use coal tar and LP sealers in the spring, coming out of winter when it's cooler temps. And as it gets closer to summer, I would increase the percentage of asphalt based material. So when I hit summertime, I'm 100% asphalt based material. And then I take that same process and just reverse it going back closer to winter again. So,
Yeah.
you know, when, of course, in the wintertime, you want to take as much water out as you can, because you're going to have shady issues, and the less water you have in there, the faster it dries,
Yeah.
those kind of things. But
Now, what are you guys using for product down in Arkansas?
for Arkansas, we have several different options. um let's see, we got Craftco, Star Seal, Vance Brothers material, and then Sealmaster. um of course, we have to travel to get to those places. There's not a major pavement maintenance supply place here in the state of Arkansas, but I live close enough that I can drive. It's 2 hours either direction, whichever one you want. It's two
Holy cow.
hours. Yeah.
Now,
So
is coal tar still around down there, or did they ban that?
no, we still have coal tar around here. Yeah. I haven't got to it yet.
Yeah.
So
I know we still have, well, when it's available, I guess I should say, we still have it up here in Massachusetts.
right,
But this year I used PMM, Sealmaster PMM,
right.
and that stuff was so thick the first time. Um,
Yes.
the guy at the plant, he's a younger guy, younger kid. He's been there, I think, a year and a half, 2 years maybe. So he doesn't, I don't really think he knows how to pump it out of the holding tank into my tank. That's
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, so I had no idea. He didn't say anything. So the first fill up, all the lines were open, filled it up, got to my first job, wouldn't pump anything. I'm like, oh my, what is happening? They would pump fine when I tried it out, tested the season, pump worked great.
Yep.
Couldn't figure out anything. I took the pump off, I took everything off. There was sealer in the pump. What the heck? It was driving me nuts. I mean, I'm covered in sealer from head to toe because everything's charged with sealer.
Yep.
And to find out was when it pumped in the tank, the initial pump went into the strainer basket, and it was so thick it wouldn't come through the strainer basket, which
Yep.
I didn't even think of that. I never would have thought of that ever. It was the last thing I checked. So clean
Yep.
that out. I called up Sealmaster, and they're like, "Yeah, add some water to it." Add some water to it. It worked fine.
Yep.
But, man, it was so thick. He's like, "Yeah, you can probably add like 5 or 10% more to it." It'd be nice if you had told me that when we first filled up.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was so thick. You guys use that down there, PMM?
Uh, I think it's available, but
Yeah,
I don't use it. The ones I've used the most here is Black Diamond,
yep,
Gem Seal Black Diamond,
yep.
and I used it right before the merge with Sealmaster, and then I've used Vance Brothers material. Um, they have a good material, and that they have the blend option. So,
Yep.
you can mix a coal tar and asphalt based material together, and
Right.
then throughout the year you can adjust your percentages, which made it kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I always ask that question about the Sealmaster PMM. Like, if you've used it, give me some hints. Like, what do you mix into that to make it work good? 'Cause,
Yes.
it was a nightmare. It was
Yep.
I mean, the first few fill-ups, after the first one it was okay. The second, third was better once you figured it out. But man, that first time was a nightmare.
It, it, I have a quick story here. It reminds me of the time the Steve Brashear's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He had a guy that worked for him. This guy, he wore a vest, and had one of those fedora hats, and rattlesnake skin boots, and he just had that style about him,
Yeah.
and he was working for him, and he was putting sand in the tank, and I guess he dropped one of the bags in the tank while Steve was inside paying for the material. Well, he was a new guy. I guess it was been his first or second day. I guess he stripped down all down to his underwear, and he dove in that tank, and he went and got that bag and came back up, and he was I mean, just coated in sealer, and it was coal tar.
Oh,
I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine. Probably set him on fire.
oh, I'm sure.
But they hosed him off, and I guess he went to work after that. But
Wow.
man, I couldn't believe they're just diving in a tank for a bag of sand.
Yeah,
You know,
and there's no feel or no burn in the world like the cold
oh
tar
no,
burn. Oh my God. It hurts so
yeah,
bad.
it's
Yep.
like the worst sunburn you've ever had.
Yeah, yeah. You ain't kidding. Yep.
Yeah,
Um, back to your page. Last week, I believe it was, you had a post that you brought back up from a while ago about measuring cracks in parking lots. I know
yes,
everybody has a big debate how it should be done. Everybody's wheeling off cracks, picking a small section, then taking a percentage of it, figuring it out. And I personally have done it that way. I've picked on a 5,000 square foot section, wheeled it all off,
yep.
and then just multiplied it up. But in my head, I was always like, did I pick a section that has way more cracks than other spots, or did I pick a section that didn't have enough cracks? Like, and then I saw your post, and like, that is the most brilliant idea that I've heard in a long time. So, and I know some people are asking you about like how you did it. Could you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, I've done that same method you're talking about, is picking an area, and I think the larger area that you pick, probably the more accurate you're going to be.
Yeah,
But a lot of the guys, they'll try to find an area that's uh not too cracked up, and an area that don't have enough cracks, and about middle of the way, and they'll pick 1,000 square feet. They'll will off the cracks in that 1,000 square feet, and then they'll multiply it, or to the size of the parking lot, and that's how they come up with their linear footage on their cracks. And I've found that man, that's all over the place. I've
yeah,
done it. I've I've used that method, and then went back and wheeled off all the cracks on the whole parking lot. So, you know, then I compared the measurements, and man, I was, it was 3, 4, 5,000 feet off. It was never anywhere close to what it should be. And so I came up with this idea that, you know, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one. A lot of guys have
right,
this
yeah,
idea, but I used the Tally app, and it's just an app that counts. You hit the button, and it counts how many times you hit the button.
yeah.
So I went and downloaded one, and so theoretically about this, I'm just using the striping to measure the cracks in the parking lot. Right, exactly. That's the same
I
one.
get
That's the same one that I got right
when you
there.
posted, I downloaded it because I'm going to do it this year.
Yes. Yeah. So I it's basically off the idea that uh you know parking stalls 9 by 19. If you got a crack that goes across that parking stall, you hit the button once. If it goes down the whole row, then you hit the button for every stall that that it passes.
Yeah,
Your drive lanes are usually 22 to 24 foot wide, so you're gonna hit it basically, twice. I know there's little underages and or unders and overs,
right,
and
yeah,
stuff like that, but you kind of keep a running total in your head, and keep it fair. But as you're measuring, for instance, if I had 3 long cracks and they went the length of all the stalls, I would, for every stall, I'd hit the button 3 times. So that kind of gives you an idea that what you're measuring. So everybody can visualize a parking space. So if you have a crack out somewhere, and uh it doesn't have any striping around it to kind of give you a reference, you can visualize how many cars I can park, on that
right, yeah,
crack, to kind of hit the button so many times.
yeah,
you know I multiply my number of times that I click that button by 10 instead of 9, to give a little bit of overage, because you get pretty fast at it. You're in your truck, you're driving through there, and you're just pounding away on that button, and it's almost like you're scanning the parking lot, and it's so much faster and so much more accurate than just finding a section and doing it like we had talked about before.
yeah.
So I had compared it to wheeling off the cracks. I did the Tally app, and then I went back and I wheeled off the cracks, and there was 11,000 feet of cracks. So I was off by, I think it was 120, 123 or 125 feet.
That's
So
that's
at
pretty good.
11,000 feet, that's close enough for
Yeah,
me. You know,
yeah,
I'm gonna send it. So,
yeah,
you know, that's it's so much more easier to go through the lot and you know to click that button and drive up, and I drive up and down the aisles.
yep,
You know, there's times you know, if there's a lot with a lot of cracks, then you know I will do all the ones that run north and south, and then I'll come back and do east and west, so I
yep,
don't, you know, lose track of where I'm at, and you know, keeps it easy
yeah,
and works out really well. But uh but the accuracy of that and the time that it saves,
like,
and
sure,
yeah, so it's, and you get really fast at it. You know, it's pretty impressive uh to do it from your truck. But the reason why I add, you know, a foot to every parking space, you know, it's because you know there's cracks that you can't see because you're up higher in your truck and you're traveling, you know, you're driving through the parking lot, you're not going to see exactly everything.
right,
But you know, if you feel like you want to really get a project and dial your pencil, you know, multiply it by 9. Don't add that, you know, don't add that extra foot
yeah,
and get lean and mean on it. So, you know, it's all on a project to project basis, but that's
yeah.
how I do it.
Now, say if you come up to a stall that has like, say, an alligated area in it, what do you do for something like that? You just hit it a few times, or you just say
Well,
those spots?
yeah, I would try to get them to fix that area first. You know, if
Yeah,
that's not an option or the budget's not there, say they're just trying to fix it up to sell the place or something like that, you
yeah,
know, and I just get the main cracks through that failed area
yeah,
because there's nothing I can do if I were to take the time to fill all those cracks. You know, each one of those pieces are moving, and
right,
usually if it's failed, it's in the route of the trash truck or a delivery truck
yeah,
or you know some heavy traffic, and I can crack fill those places. But the next time that truck drives over it, it's gonna move past the elasticity of the crack filler and you know, it's gonna open back up,
yeah,
and I potentially have priced myself out of the ball game of being, you know, competitive on the bid against other contractors because I added that footage in.
right. Yeah, nothing makes me scratch my head more than seeing a big alligated area and somebody took a wand and drew like S's all over it. Like, what?
Oh yeah,
What are
yeah,
you? What are you doing?
I don't understand that, and you never seen that until the super shots came out. You
Right.
know, it's like it's so easy to do it, and you know you get, you know, it's like you get in the zone and you're filling cracks, and I think that's where it comes from. You know, I judge it by, you know, like whatever I can look across the parking lot and see.
Yeah.
You know, those cracks that I can see by looking across the parking lots, that's the ones I feel. If
Right.
I can't look across the parking lot and see it, then if I have to be right over the top of it to see it, then it's too small. You know,
Yeah.
you don't get penetration. So that's how I determine, you know, that line that you're talking about of
Yeah.
filling everything or,
Right.
you know, filling what needs to be
Yeah,
filled.
well, I mean, that's definitely, I'm actually going to try that out this year because like I said, I've done wheeling them off. I've done 1,000, 5,000 square foot sections, multiplying it out. I've done square footage of the lot by a certain percentage. I've
Yep,
done it all ways, but this one, I'm going to give this one a try. It seems way more accurate, faster. Um,
it is.
it's a great idea.
Yeah, I'll it's like I'll never wheel off another parking lot,
Yeah,
you know, because
exactly.
I just know. But you know, it takes a little getting used to when you first start it. But
Yep.
man, by doing 2 or 3 lots, you're going through and you're clicking that button and scanning the parking lot, and man, it's pretty quick. It's pretty
Yeah.
fast,
No, so it hasn't been posted yet, but I had Ryan Anderson on earlier this week from Premier Seal Coating.
right?
He's got some good ideas about different pricing strategies. One he does is, which other people do it too, but he's the one that I know like blasts it out all the time usually. He
Yep,
prices by pallet instead of by linear foot. Uh,
right.
what do you think of that?
Um, man, I don't personally like it, as far as by the pallet, because I've been on parking lots that there's a lot of small cracks, and a little bit went a long way.
Right.
So if I was charging by the pound, I didn't use very much material, but I I still had to go through the process of filling every crack. So,
Right.
so there's different applications. And I've also been on parking lots where, man, it would have been nice to be charged by the pound because they were 4 inches wide and 6 inches deep. And, I could have
Yeah.
just sit there and
Fill it
made
up.
a ton of money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that, you know, uh, I've used it when I filled cracks on highways.
Yeah.
They charge by the pound. Um, there's guys out there that do it, but I never had come up with a good, reliable equation of making that happen and
Yeah.
feeling good about it.
Right.
So there was always a variable there that made it not a good fit for me, or I found an error in how it works. So if he's got something that I don't know about, I don't want to take away from anything that he's talked about.
Yeah.
I'd be more than willing to listen to it, and just like everybody else, and
Right.
learn from him if he does have that magic bullet that gets everything. So, just as far as I've seen, and it might be like different climates have different styles of cracks. So you might be able to have a lot more success with that in a different area
Yeah.
versus here. So
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear what he's got.
Yeah. That's one of the things I want to do. The goal of the Asphalt Entrepreneur is to try to, obviously, I want to do podcasts, um, but I also want to try to get more groups together so we can have like a
Yep,
Zoom call with a bunch of people and just, hey, this one's going to be about crack filling.
absolutely.
Just like that. Everybody throw ideas across each other and let Ryan, he got it from Brad, I guess, from B&E Sealcoating.
Yeah,
Um, just hash it out. Let's see. What do you guys think? How do you do it? Let's please talk about and see which way is best.
yeah,
Um, so I really think there's a lot of ideas out there that somebody might have that other people don't have that would help everybody.
right. Yeah,
Um,
I would love to have those groups of people talking, and you know sign an NDA, or whatever
yeah,
you got to do to keep it quiet. But those the ideas that could come from a group like that,
yeah,
could be huge.
right, yeah, yep, yeah. He's a great guy. He's not too far from me. He's probably like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And he's big into sports courts now. So
Oh yeah,
if I can find time, I'd like to go out with him and just like follow along on a sports court. It seems like that's the next big thing that everybody's trying to get into around here. I don't know about down by
yep.
you guys, but everybody
I
seems
went
to want to get into it.
I went down to Houston here recently, and sit in on one of Brian Hood's jobs.
Yep.
Uh, he was striping a Home Depot warehouse. This building was like 2,000 feet long, 700 feet wide. It was the biggest warehouse I'd ever been in, and I learned a lot about warehouse striping. It's just something I had never done.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he really helped me out, and showed me a lot of the things, the do's and don'ts of warehouse striping and epoxy paint, and the two-part epoxy paint.
Yep.
you know it's like you got 30 minutes. So if it's you either get it out of your machine and add more paint, or you're buying a new machine. So it's going to set up in there. But man, I'm thankful that he did that, and I appreciate
Yeah.
it. And to have that experience was really awesome. So going and talking to these guys that have uh different things going on, you can learn from them, like sports coatings.
Yep.
It's priceless.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to do on-site training with my consulting. So if they want me to come out, teach them how to lay out a parking lot, teach them how to seal coat or spray, and really break it down for a science and straighten out their learning curve. Yeah, it might it might be a little bit expensive to do that. My time, my travel, everything getting there, the hotel rooms, all that. But, if you look at it like whatever that amount is can be paid for basically with one job. So,
Yeah.
and then every job after that, you're making money and more money than you would for years until you would have figured it out on your own,
Right.
So there's a lot of benefits into having it done, so if people can look past the sticker shock of the initial investment and being new and, to have somebody come out and cram 30 years of experience down their throat, whatever they hold on to, they're gonna make money off of from now on.
Yeah. Yep.
So and then it goes to the guys that like the bigger companies, if their foreman quits and he takes 2 or 3 guys with them, but they've got a board full of work, they can call me up. I'll be out there the next day or two and get me some guys. I'll train them. We'll keep up with their schedule that they got going and, get them back on track. Was kind of the idea of doing what I was doing, but
Right. Yeah.
it's kind of emergency services, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Now, another thing my goal for this is same as your group page, helping the new guys in the industry.
Yep.
What would, for somebody who's just starting out, say they have no idea, they want to get into pavement maintenance, but they don't know which avenue they want to go yet. For somebody starting out, which way, say you were starting out from zero, had no idea what was happening, and you were gonna recommend something for you to start. Would you start seal coating? Would you start striping? Would you start cracks? Would you start combination? What would
I
you
would start. Yeah, I would start with striping because it's you have the fastest turnaround on a job. I can do it by myself. I can take my striping machine and go out from place to place and say, hey, I'll stripe this right now. It'll be this much. If you need to talk to somebody and I have to come back, unfortunately I'll have to add a little bit to it. But usually the amount is smaller and it's under the amount that they have the ability to go ahead and approve there on the spot.
Yep.
and then ask for forgiveness later. So
Right, yeah.
and those amounts are so small that you pretty much get paid pretty quick, so you can do those striping jobs and build up money pretty fast and then start getting into other fields. To me, crack filling is the most profitable phase out of pavement maintenance. If you do it efficiently, it just seems to make the most amount of money out of, profit margin wise than seal coating and striping. So, that to start out striping and then, get your crack filling equipment and start crack filling and have something through the winter time and then add on your seal coating, man, you'd be set.
Yeah. I thought about that a few times throughout the years. Like if I was going to start all over, and that's exactly what I would do. I'd stripe and cracks.
Yep.
The reason for me is because I remember starting out, there was a parking lot in my neighborhood down the street from my parents' house, actually, that got seal coated. The next year it was completely gone. So to myself, I'm like, all right, that property manager, the owner of the building, they're never going to seal coat again because they just blew 15, 20 grand.
Yep.
The seal coat job that's completely gone. But on the other hand, they can physically see the cracks that should be sealed. They can see the lines that need to be striped. They know the benefit of those. So I always thought it was a much easier sell for striping and cracks as opposed to seal coating. Like if I was going to do it over, that's the route I'd go to.
Yes. I always tell some, property owner, if they do not have it in the budget to seal coat, at least crack fill that parking lot.
Yeah.
To keep the water out of the subgrade and slow down the deterioration of the parking lot.
Right.
So, I always try to get them to do that. If they can't do everything, then at least fill cracks and help slow it down.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the same as up here in the Northeast. I mean, 99% of the people understand that water gets on the ground, freezes, causes cracks, more cracks. So it's an easy thing to talk to somebody about because they understand where you're coming from.
Right. You got freeze thaw cycles that, you
Yeah,
know, especially up there they're probably pretty brutal on the
right. Yeah,
parking lot, the condition of
that,
the asphalt.
yep. So we're gonna close it up here in a few minutes, but any last things you'd like to say to any of the new guys, old guys, just to end it up?
No, I think we're good. You know, I want to make sure that, you know, I tell the new guys to lay off the new guys and understand that they were new at one point too, you know.
Right,
So those guys that are coming into the industry, if we can train them to, you know, just like you said, not do jobs that are gone in a year and leave somebody upset that they never seal coat again, you know, and not hurt the industry,
right,
then we all benefit from that. So if that new guy will come in and learn from us and do a good job and and be a good contractor in the industry, I think that's more important than having that crabs in a bucket mentality of fighting and, you know, oh, he's going to be a competitor if I help him out. I don't want to help nobody, you know, it's
right.
all
Yeah,
mine, you
yeah,
know, so I don't. So if we can get past some of those things, I think it would really help in the long run in the industry.
yeah. I 100% agree. Couldn't have said it
Yep.
better myself.
There's
Um,
enough for everybody out
it,
there.
it definitely is. No matter how many people want to try it, there's enough.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I'm gonna let you get going.
All right.
But again, thanks for coming on. This will probably be out next week.
Okay.
Christmas is coming up. We'll post
Yeah.
it up next week. I'll probably put out some little snips of it between here and then, but look for it
Well,
next week.
I sure appreciate the opportunity, Eric. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
same. I appreciate you coming on.
All right.
Again, thank you very much, and look forward to talking to you a little later.
All right. See you
All right.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.